Welcome to Backwoods Pursuit. I'm Gabe Garish, and today we are going to talk about tripods, and specifically only premium tripods. These three are amazing options that have some really distinct differences that you want to know about if you're looking at a premium tripod. We're going to go over those in this video. We have the Really Right Stuff Ascend, the Outdoorsmans Carbon Innegra, and the Spartan Ascent. Fantastic tripods, but we're going to look at 5 differences between these tripods to help you make that decision. First thing we're going to look at is the weight of each system. It's a big factor in selecting a tripod along with stability, but weight is a place that a lot of us like to start when we're considering what kind of a tripod we want to take with us. The second thing we're going to look at is the differences in the features and the systems that they offer. They are surprisingly different in a lot of ways. Obviously, they're all tripods and they're similar in that way, but there are some really distinct differences you want to be aware of. Third thing we're going to look at is the ease of use of each system. It kind of ties into the features and differences, but there's some distinct differences in the ease of use. Also going to look at the price point of each system to help you make that decision. These are all premium tripods, so they are all very expensive, of course, but they are fantastic in their build quality. The fifth thing we're going to look at is when I might take each of these. What are the best situations? What are they best suited for in our hunting situations? And then finally, I'm going to go over the things that I liked and didn't like about each system. I'll put links to them all down in the description so you can check them out for yourself, as well as a link to our website, backwoodspursuit.com, and our social media accounts, all that down in the description. Go check those out. Let's get started. All right, now before we get into the specs and the details and the differences between these two, again, these are only premium tripods, the best of the best. They're very expensive. They're for the folks that are in the market for something where they need the absolute best they can buy when it comes to a tripod, and they're willing to pay that extra price tag because these are very expensive. So to get started, let's take a look at the weight differences. Here you have the Really Right Stuff Ascend tripod. Now this comes in a short version, or a compact version is what they call it, and this long one, this is the long version. The difference in weight there is roughly 3 ounces, so I went with the long version here. You have 2 different center column options. One here that comes with a built-in Ascent head. That comes in at 3 pounds 6 ounces. If you go with their platform head here, this allows you to put whatever head that you want on here, and that comes in with about 3 ounces less than that, so 3 pounds 3 ounces, which is not too terribly bad for a standing tripod that is incredibly stable. The Outdoorsmans Carbon Innegra here comes in 3 different sizes. The compact is 1 pound 15 ounce. This one here is the standard, 2 pounds 3 ounces. And the long version comes in 2 pounds 6 ounces. And that again is just the legs, not the head here included in that weight. Now the Spartan Ascent here comes in a mountain version or a woodland version. This is the mountain, the smaller of the two. And this comes in at 2 pounds 14 ounces on my scale for just the legs. If you have the Davros Pro head on here, about 3 pounds 6 ounces there. Then there's of course a bunch of combinations that you can add things to with this whole system. The woodland version comes in at 3 pounds 12 ounces. According to the specs, I don't have that one here to weigh that out myself, but that is the specs on those 3. So some pretty significant weight differences. These two are pretty similar in their weight, whereas the Outdoorsman's is significantly lighter in the overall weight of the units. With the weight differences out of the way, one of the differences here is in the type of leg locks here. The Really Right Stuff is a twist lock, same with the Spartan here, also a twist lock system, whereas the Outdoorsman's is a lever lock system. Some people like that and some people don't. It is very different, it has its pros and cons. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's one very distinct differences, particularly with the Outdoorsman's here. Another one is in the ratchet system between these. The Really Right Stuff has a pull tab ratchet system, and then you have your leg angle locks at each, a stop at each lock angle. Same with the Spartan here. You have a pull tab lock system, and then it locks into each leg angle. Whereas the Outdoorsman's has a push button lock system. So then you have your different lock angles, and they ratchet really nicely. But it is a push button style, super nice. I prefer the push button style. It's just a little more functionally easy to use, especially out in the field when you're messing with gloves and whatnot, you just push that button. It makes it really, really nice and easy to use, but they all work really, really well. Now, another difference here is in the center columns between these. You have the Really Right stuff here that has an average length center column. It is triangular in its shape, though. I really do like that. It does seem, at least the way that Really Right stuff has designed and built this, very, very stable. You can run the center column all the way up to its highest point, and you still have excellent stability, no matter if you have a large spotting scope or rifle or whatnot on top of there. It works really, really well, and it does slide really nicely. So I really do like that. And you can break this down and take a majority of the center column off if you just want to have a short little column, save some weight there, because this is a very heavy center column. You have a lot of your weight in that. The Outdoorsmans here is very long. This is the longest center column of all of them. Now, some people don't like that, and there are certainly pros and cons to that. While it is nice for optics use when you're glassing with binoculars and whatnot, I did also find that it is a little bit too long. You can see how close to the ground it is here. So if you have uneven ground that you're setting this tripod on, that center column may hit a rock or something if you're using it for your spotting scope or whatnot. So you almost need to run this center column up a few inches so that that does not hit the rocks underneath you or uneven ground. Now, I do know that Outdoorsmans is taking a look at this, and they are designing other center column options, the ability to break this in half or use part of it, or to use other center column options. So I think that'll be a great addition to this Carbon Innegra, because while I do like a long center column like that, it does get in the way at times and is a little bit annoying if you have that uneven ground. The Spartan here has a unique center column. It comes with a very, very short one. It's really designed more for shooting, I would say. This is designed as a shooting system, more so than optics use, but it certainly can be used with optics. And one nice thing that they do offer is an extension here for the center column. So if you want to use this with optics, this is really what this extension is designed for. It's not really designed for shooting off of. They say you probably shouldn't shoot off of this extension. But you do have that option to screw that on there, and then it gives you more length, which I do like when I'm using a tripod for glassing. That center column comes in really handy, because particularly with binoculars, you may need to run that up. So that's one thing to consider there, but the center column again here is round, and the Outdoorsmans is also round, whereas that Really Right stuff is triangular in its shape. So that's differences in your center column. It is nice that these two have the ability to break down the center column to a shorter version if you want to save that weight and not have that. And if you want to use it with optics, you can extend that out, leave that extension on there. So a lot of options there, and I do look forward to seeing what Outdoorsmans does with their center column and the options that they come out with. Now, speaking of center columns, one distinct difference is the locking mechanisms. The Really Right stuff here has a lever lock, very easy, very nice to use with gloves on when it's cold out or without, and it gives you a nice ability to put a little bit of tension on there if you want that. But the in-between is a little bit harder to find than, say, the Outdoorsmans there, but it is super quick, super easy, and nice and smooth. The Outdoorsmans here uses a pin style with a little rubber stop on the end of the screw, and allows you to just twist lock that and go up and down. This one was really nice for making micro adjustments. If you're needing to use that with binoculars or a spotting scope, you can just make that really quick and easy in that regard. The Spartan here uses a twist lock style here, pretty common with tripods. I didn't find that I liked this one quite as much as far as the way that locked on, but it is very, very nice in the way that it works, but just not quite as user-friendly as the other two, because that twist lock ring sits right on top of this platform here, and it just makes it a little bit more cumbersome to lock and unlock when you're wanting to extend that center column. Now, another difference is in the number of leg sections. Both the Really Right stuff here and the Spartan have 4 leg sections. So there are 3 twist locks there, 4 leg sections. And the Outdoorsmans here has 3 leg sections with 2 locking mechanisms. So if you're someone who likes fewer leg sections, this Outdoorsmans is a little bit better in that regard. 1 fewer leg section, whereas the other 2 have the 4th leg section. Now, as far as folded height, that can make a difference in getting the tripod into your pack. The Outdoorsmans as a whole across the lineup of the options that they have were the most compact when they were folded, followed by the Really Right stuff, and then the longest when they're folded was the Spartan here, the Spartan Ascent version. So take that into consideration if it matters to you. Some people care, some people don't about folded height, but that is something to consider. Now, a couple more differences here is that the Really Right Stuff and Outdoorsmans do not have detachable legs. You cannot take them off and use them as trekking poles, whereas the Spartan here does have that availability where you can pick up trekking pole handles, unscrew these legs, and then put handles on there and use them as trekking poles. So that is a nice feature and nice versatility that that one offers. As far as country of origin, the Really Right Stuff and Outdoorsmans both are made and sourced in the USA down to every screw. They really pride themselves in that, whereas the Spartan here is made in China and designed in England, so some differences in that regard. All right, next up, let's look at ease of use. Overall, I'm just gonna give you a quick 1, 2, 3 ranking of my preferences of ease of use, and then we'll get into the things I liked and didn't like, that drove that here in that final section there. Overall, my favorite as far as ease of use was the Outdoorsmans. I do like the lever locks. They were just the fastest and easiest to deploy. They have their downsides because they get caught on things in your pack. That's something I'm willing to deal with. That deployment made it really, really easy, and then the push button ratcheting on the legs, really, really nice in that regard. And I did really like the center column locking nut there. It just overall was just super easy to use. The second up and very, very close was the Really Right Stuff here. The legs are so super and silky smooth. They're just really, really precisely built. Really Right Stuff makes their own, weaves their own carbon for their legs, and they do a fantastic job in that regard. And it's just, these are like the Cadillac of tripods. They're super well refined. Everything about them is just top notch. Very, very user friendly. They're, the locking mechanisms are very positive, and it's just really a joy to use this tripod. I do like this center column lock as well. It makes it really quick and easy. It's a little bit more difficult though to make small adjustments. You have a little bit more movement than you did with that Outdoorsmans. That's the only reason that I preferred that a little bit more than this one, but it's a very, very nice usability of that center column. And so the other aspect there as to why this one comes in second is that the ratcheting legs here takes a little bit more dexterity to pull that ratcheting lever up than the Outdoorsmans does there. So if you have gloves on or whatnot, it can be a little bit more difficult to grab that. Not a really big deal, but just we're talking about fine details here. Now going over to the Spartan here, the Ascent, they have a similar ratcheting, a pull tab ratchet like the Really Right Stuff, but there's a little more of a tab there to pull on. So if you have gloves on, it's a little bit easier. I do like that better about this one than the Really Right Stuff. Really the main reason why this one didn't score higher in its overall usability is in the leg deployment style. The way that these legs are built is independent of one another. So when you're deploying the legs, you twist that out, deploy a leg. You have to lock this leg before you go to deploy the second one. Otherwise, the whole thing below, the lower section spins and it won't unlock. So you have to unlock that one and then go to the next one. Now, when you're going to recollapse the leg, you have to go in the inverse order. So start with that one, lock it, and then go up to the next one, lock it, go up to the next one, and lock it. So in quick deploy situations and hunting situations, that takes extra time, which can be a difficulty if you're trying to get your tripod set out and catch a buck or bull moving into the timber. So I found that to be the most cumbersome of all of them, and I don't prefer that style of leg deployment. But you do get used to it after you use it a bit, and it becomes second nature. But when you're not used to it, it can be frustrating at first getting used to that. Now, as far as price point here, the Spartan here comes in at $1,100, and that includes the Davros Pro head. The Outdoorsmans here comes in at $1,400, and that is not including any head, and that is in the standard version, so a similar height to that, the mountain version there. The Really Right Stuff here, this is again the long version, so it is a little bit more expensive because of that, but it comes in at $1,420 with the platform, and then if you have the integrated Ascend head, this is $1,745. Now if you go with the compact version, which would be more comparable to these, you've got $1,300 for the platform head, and then the price point with the Ascend head with the platform is $1,650 at the time of this video. So that's where they were all at. Again, very premium pricing on all of them, but obviously very well built tripods as well. Now, before we take a look at what I liked and didn't like about each of them, let's look at when I might select to take each of these tripods. The Spartan Ascent here is by far the most versatile setup of these three. We're not going to go into all of those. We're going to do a separate video on the versatility that you get with the Spartan Ascent here, but it is incredibly versatile. It's an entire system that is built to be used for your optics use and your shooting off of. It has a magnet switch system here that you can integrate into your rifle and your optics and whatnot. It's a fantastic system in that regard. Has a ton of versatility. So if I'm looking for a system that can do it all and do it all well, this is a great system for that. It is a little bit heavier, and again, I don't love that leg deployment system, but it does have a ton of versatility there. If I'm looking for the absolute most stability, this Really Right Stuff to me performed the best in that regard. Again, it's a little bit on the heavier side, so if that's something you're willing, the weight penalty is something that you're willing to deal with. It was the most stable. You can tell it has the most beefy legs here, the biggest diameter legs, and because of that you have the extra weight there, but it is something that excels in stability. Absolute premium build job. Everything is just really, really well done with this. Now in a hunting situation, if I'm looking for the lightest weight, the best combination of weight and stability, this Outdoorsmans Carbon Innegra takes the cake in that regard for me. It's incredibly stable. You can shoot off of it, use for your optics and whatnot, and very, very functionally useful. Just around that 2-pound mark is awesome for this. And then you throw, say, an ultralight tripod head. If you just want to use it for glassing, you can do that and keep the weight under 2.5 pounds. Or if you want a shooting system, you can put a different type of ball head or whatnot on here. A lot of different options there. So for just an overall hunting type tripod, this one is that for me because of primarily the weight. I do again like the stability a little bit better of the Really Right Stuff, but they're all phenomenal in their stability and what they excel at. They each are built for a little bit different purpose, so take that into consideration when you're looking at a tripod. All right, now finally, let's look at what I liked and didn't like about each of these premium tripods. Start with the Really Right Stuff Ascend here. Just an amazing tripod. The stability is incredible. The functionality overall is just built like a Mercedes or a Lexus. It's just built to be premium. Everything about this tripod is well built, super smooth, and every screw, every piece of this tripod is made in the USA. And like I mentioned, they weave their own carbon fibers, not carbon fiber sheets or laser printed or anything. They weave their own. So everything is made right here in the USA. Super smooth center column, overall functionality. You save some weight with this Ascend head that's built in, and it just is absolutely rock solid, as much as you can possibly be, all the way extended to its full height. The only thing I can really complain about here is the price point. It's the most expensive of all three of these, and the weight is a little bit heavier. It's about 1 pound heavier than the Outdoorsmans, roughly, depending on the configuration you go with. So if that weight is of a lot of significance to you and you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of stability that you get with this for the Outdoorsmans, then that may be the route to go. But that's really the only thing I can complain about with this. Just a phenomenal tripod. The Outdoorsmans here, an excellent blend of stability and weight savings. Little thinner legs here. You don't have quite as bulky of legs, quite the diameter that you do with the Really Right Stuff there, but it's still a great blend of stability. It gives you a ton of stability, more than you could ever need or want for spotting scopes, for hunting purposes, and even for shooting off of. I've shot off this. It does a great job. I love the push button, the user friendliness of that. It's just easier than the pull tab style. I loved the twist lock here of the center column. I found that just to be really easy in glassing, to make minor adjustments as needed when you're glassing in that regard. I also really like this new ARCA and Outdoorsman's plate attachment there. You stick your spotter or your binos right there, so you don't have to set them in the dirt. It's really a nice little add-on attachment you can add. You can really add that to any tripod as long as the leg diameter is the right leg diameter there. What I didn't like about this one, though, of course, it's very expensive, just like all of these here. It's roughly $1,400, so you're going to pay the premium for this tripod. But the main thing here I didn't love was this super long center column, and there's no way to make any adjustment to that. This could be, roughly half the length or 3/4 of the length of what it is and still be fully functional for everything that I would need. But I do know that Outdoorsmans is making a change to that, so I'm excited to take a look at what they do in that regard. I also loved the lever lock legs. They're super smooth. If I were to describe the difference in feel between these two, particularly between the Outdoorsmans and the Really Right Stuff here, The Outdoorsman's feels more industrial, if you want to call it that. Not as silky smooth as what Really Right stuff offers. This is just a super smooth operating unit, whereas this one is it's just durable and functional, but a little more industrial feeling, if that makes sense. But that's just the best way I could describe that overall. While I love the quick deploy of these lever lock legs, they do get caught on your pack as you're sliding it in and out of that side pocket of your pack, which can be a little bit annoying. So depending on how big a difference that makes for you personally, you may want to go with the twist lock style because those just slide in and out of your pack. There's nothing there to grab onto straps or edges of your pack or whatnot, whereas those lever locks can do that, and it is a little bit frustrating at times. Likes and dislikes about the Spartan here. It's a fantastic tripod. It is incredibly versatile. We're going to do more videos on that versatility here. Not going to be able to cover all of that, but you do get this nice Davros Pro head with that Magna switch system built into it. It allows you a ton of functionality with optics use and using it to shoot off of as well for your rifle, so it's great in that regard. Pull tab style is nice. I do like it better than the Really Right stuff there. It gives you a little more purchase when you need to pull up on that. But the things I didn't love about that is what I mentioned with the deployment of the legs. That can be frustrating at times, especially if you're in a hurry or you forget to go through the sequence. It just takes longer to deploy these legs than the other style. The other thing that I did note is that the center column adjustment here is a little bit more cumbersome. Particularly, it tends to stick if you put this extension on here for optics use. That joint there tends to want to stick right there in the column, so you have to really untwist that more than you normally would to get that to slide up and down the way that it should. So I did find that it twists and slide fine without the center column adjustment. Once you put that on there though, it does add a little bit of extra need to loosen that more so that it will slide up and down real nicely. So something to consider there. Now, I also do like that the legs here unscrew and you can use those as trekking poles or tent poles. So you have a ton of functionality and versatility with this system. And there is the foam on all three of the legs here, which makes it nice if it's cold out, makes it easier to grip and not as cold on your hands. So you get that versatility and that benefit here. It does add a little bit of weight, but not a ton there. That's why this is one of the systems that is a little bit heavier than the others. So that is these three premium tripods. I'll put again a link to all of these down in the description so you can check them out for yourself. Happy to help answer any questions that I can. Thanks for watching here today, and we will see you next time.